Hi students, welcome to video 2. In this video, I will cover proportions and perspective. Proportions refer to the size relationships between parts in a whole or parts in an image and how they relate. So for example, we might be talking about facial proportions, but proportions relate to still life drawing as well. If I were to draw these bottles, I would want to make sure that I'm drawing them accurately, not too tall or not too short and not too wide. It is worth mentioning that some artists will deliberately distort proportions. They will distort the proportions in order to create something that is more idealized, beautiful, or in this case, just comical. Notice how in this particular example, the head is much larger than the body. When we draw, you might be wondering, is there an effective technique for checking proportions? How can we make sure that we have the correct proportions in our drawing? You can check proportions by learning the sighting technique. So as I describe the sighting technique, I would like you to follow along so you learn how to do it. In order to sight effectively, what you need to do is you need to extend your arm, hold some kind of writing tool upright. It could even be a knitting needle. You're gonna lock your arm. Make sure that your arm is not bent at all. This graphic is actually not the best because the arm should be completely extended. After you do this, you can then close one eye. You put your pencil tip at the top of your object, put your thumb at the bottom of the object. Basically what you're doing is you're measuring the length of the cone. Once you have that unit, you can compare that length with other objects within your still life. Let's look at the sighting technique with a different example. Let's pretend we are drawing this apple and this wine glass. Again, let's try the sighting technique. I want you to take your arm, extend it all the way, grab some kind of pen or pencil, and what you're going to do is you're going to lock your elbow, make sure your arm is extended all the way, put your pencil tip at the top of the apple, not the stem, but the top of the red apple. With your thumb, you're gonna mark off how tall the apple is. Once you have that measurement, you can carry it over without unlocking your arm, without bending your elbow, and you're gonna count how many apple units fit within the wine glass. I'm gonna go ahead and let you measure on your own. All right. When you measured, if you counted 2.5 apple lengths as being able to fit within the wine glass, then you're on the right track. This is an example of how we can use one unit of measurement to compare it against another object. So hypothetically, if we were drawing this, we would want the ratio 2.5 to be consistent within our own drawing. The sighting technique is also good for understanding angles. Notice that the pear is angled. And in your drawing, you would want to make sure that the amount of inclination that your pear has is similar to the pear that we are observing. So you can use the sighting technique in this case. All you would have to do is, again, extend your arm, place your writing tool along the central axis of your pear, and that should give you a good idea of how much it is inclined. Without moving your arm, you bring that angle over and see if your drawing matches the angle of the pear that you are observing. The sighting technique could also help you understand the angles between different objects. So here the artist is comparing the edge of one container against a cup. If you're able to see that angle in real space, it makes it much easier to draw. Perspective. Perspective refers to the creation of space, but as it is seen from a particular vantage point. As you draw, it's important to keep in mind where you are situated in relation to your objects. Are you looking at your form from above, from below, or at eye level? Here is an example of a sketch. I can tell that the artist is situated at an angle and also above the objects. I can tell this is true because we can see into the forms. This graphic shows an important rule about perspective. Imagine that I'm holding a cup. If I hold the cup at eye level, I will not be able to see into the cup. However, if I start bringing that cup down further and further away from my eye level, I will be able to see more and more of the top plane. That is, I will be able to see into the cup. This graphic shows the same concept. The following will be helpful for your own still life drawing. If I look at a coffee cup from a bird's eye view, I know that the opening is circular. However, if I look at the coffee cup from an angle, the opening now looks elliptical. In an ellipse, the middle is a little bit wide and it will taper near the ends. When you draw your ellipse, make sure that the lines do not come to a sharp point. This is incorrect. Your lines should round off, and this is a common mistake that beginning drawing students make. Here we have an example of a cup that is drawn accurately. Notice that the edges are not too sharp. When you draw, don't be afraid to include many guidelines that can help you produce a more accurate and well-balanced form. Notice this central axis here, this central line. This can help you produce a study that is more symmetrical. So this side should match the shape on this side. Likewise, when you draw an ellipse, you can also draw a line through the middle of the ellipse to make sure that it is symmetrical and well balanced. Your ellipse, if you're looking at an object straight on, it should not be crooked. This should be on the same level as this. So guidelines are your friends. Finally, you should have an idea of what foreshortening is. Foreshortening is the representation of parts that appear dramatically short or compressed or distorted because of the viewer's vantage point. So if we look at this guitar, it looks very strange. It looks compressed, but it only looks that way because of where we are standing in relation to it. So be aware that you might come across this phenomenon. Some objects might seem difficult to draw because they are foreshortened.